Hello, welcome everybody. I guess good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be right now. And hope everybody's doing well out there and staying safe these days. And thank you for taking some time to take a tour of the Cloud Academy platform today. Just a little background about myself. I'm a strategic account executive with Cloud Academy. Been here almost 2 years. I've been in IT training probably a little over 15 years. And as of IT networks and app dev have moved and changed and are now moving to the cloud, so it's my career. And the way people are learning is also moved to the cloud, as well. It's not enough just to go to a classroom for 3 or 4 days, right? Especially if the technology changes 3 months later, and it's really not that scalable. So I have been very lucky to work with Cloud Academy, have some very interesting clients. To say my vertical that I work with is diverse is understatement. I've been working with some interesting pharmaceutical companies, some of them on the front lines of developing some great, cures and medicines for, COVID. One of the largest media companies in the world, global systems integrators, major railroads, even one of the largest health systems in the U.S. So it seems like no matter what your industry, you're moving to the cloud these days. So just a little bit about today. I don't want to take up too much of your time, definitely not an hour. I know time is precious, so I'm just going to go through the demonstration. And during it, you can put some questions into the chat, and at the very end, we'll address those and have some Q&A. And also at the very end, there will be a survey that we would appreciate if you could fill out as well. So now let me go to the demo. Just briefly before I go into the platform, a little history on Cloud Academy. We were founded about, I think, 8 years ago now, and our founders just started creating great content in cloud technologies for end users around the world, digital content. But as we started to grow with some very interesting companies, they wanted something, a little bit more meaningful, a little more structured when it came to an online learning program, as opposed to just, a digital training is kind of the trend, but just throwing out a bunch of licenses, 1,000 licenses sometimes, and hoping people will train, really just, wasn't that impactful. So we've grown with some clients, and pretty much everything you'll see on our platform is based on our customers' needs. And to this day, we still continuously improve our platform based on customer requests. So to start with, we're at the dashboard of the admin level. So this is where we start to organize and bring structure to online learning. And the first person who will come onto the platform will be your admin, and they'll be kind of a super user or maybe a program manager. They'll be able to invite people to the platform, send out learning plans, do assessments, have analytics of everybody in the organization. But what we do is we recommend that you break it into teams. So put people kind of similar like you would in a live classroom. You want to put people in a classroom or a team with similar skill sets as well as similar skill objectives. But you can really just break it up any way you want. It can be by region, it could be by job role, maybe a particular certification that you want this team, to achieve. Let me get into one of these and show you. We have a couple different types of licenses. So we have the admin one, which I just mentioned, and then we have to delegate responsibility. We have team managers as well. So as you can imagine, we have some clients that have 10,000 plus people on this platform, and so one admin cannot think to manage that or even know what kind of training everybody necessarily needs. So manager most likely would be, the IT BU. They'll know what their team needs. They can assign training plans for them, do assessments, and view all the analytics, but just for their team only. And then, of course, we have the end user license. They can just consume the content, your employees. And then we have a fourth type of license, which is called a stakeholder license. We have some great analytics and ROI that I'll show you a little bit later. And a lot of you, like maybe your C-level or anybody who just wants to see how the progress is going in the training program and view those analytics, but not necessarily take content, they would have what's called a stakeholder license, and those are free. So you don't have to waste a license just if you want certain people in leadership just to oversee and see the ROI and all the analytics. So now let me go into assessments. So once you have the teams set, we highly recommend that you do assessments. and see where your team, currently resides. So it's kind of hard to know where you're going, create an actual plan if you don't know where you're starting from. So these assessments are pretty basic, not meant to be too intimidating. Some of them are only like 8 minutes to 10 minutes long, but it just gives you that baseline to work with. And what you're seeing here is just a snapshot of once the assessments are assigned, the team is 100% of them have been completed, average scores. These scores could be pretty low in some cases if everybody's new to the particular technology, the team itself. We have a little knowledge graph here that as people get more proficient in these technologies, this will fill out. And then we can break it down into how they fare if it's a multi-platform assessment, you can just do specific ones if you want, but how they fare in each platform. Maybe get a little more granular in the domains within these platforms like security, management, storage. And quickly, this number you're seeing is actually based out of 1,000. So a lot of data science and analytics go into this, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But then we can see the individuals, how the individuals fared, and this can give you a good idea if somebody did really horrible on the assessment, maybe they're probably going to need some more training on the front end, some more fundamentals. And then if somebody just blew it out of the park, maybe they need something a little more advanced. So once we have the team set and do the assessments, and then we go into the training plans and assign a training plan. And training plan is really at the heart of our solution. That's really what brings the accountability. And when you have a due date and a goal in mind and structure like this, it's just we found it's about 10 times more likely you're going to succeed in a training program. So these are current plans, but let me show you how to actually add a new one. So you pick the team that you want to assign the plan to here. And then we have a long list of training paths. A lot of them are just out of the box or straight for certifications. We also have some custom training plans as well that you're allowed to have access to. And you can even customize your own. And so it's something I'll get into a little bit later, is that it's not just here's this content, online learning, have at it. We have some great learning paths and plans, but you can actually just customize it to mirror your own technology stack and really make it your own. But let me show you what it's like to assign one of these. I'll just go into AWS class. And this tool is great. Our customers, really appreciate this tool. So we, as an admin or team manager, you might have a goal in mind. Hey, we got to get this training done by a certain, maybe a migration point or a project that we're going to launch. But do you really know how much time you're asking them to commit on a weekly basis? So this actually here, right now it's on 2.5 hours. That's how long it would take on a weekly basis, how much time you're committing to get 44 hours of training done by February 4th if you started on October 5th. And you can move this to the right if you feel like they can do more training. We think 3 hours is pretty good with a normal workload. But those team managers are going to have a really good idea, of how much time that their team can commit to doing the training on a weekly basis. So really, really great way to to gauge what you're asking them to do. And then over here, you can put in a little context as to why they're doing the training. Is it due to a project or migration, implementation? And then you can review, make sure everything looks right, confirm, assign, and the training plan is then launched and the clock starts ticking. And you as a team manager or admin will get notified on a weekly basis, so you can monitor the progress. But let me go to what a current training plan in progress looks like so you can see the data. Find a good one here. This one. So here you go, as an admin or team manager, get a nice snapshot of the progress. In this case, we're 16 days behind. Average score, if the scores are all really low, that could be kind of a red flag. Maybe this is a little too advanced for some of the folks. The due date. And right here, this line, this longitudinal line, is actually the knowledge and skill gain. So a really cool feature, very unique to Cloud Academy. And any platform can tell you, hey, people have gone through and consumed content. We tell you the actual skills and growth that are gained, so clear ROI. So this is when we started on the platform, didn't do any training for a while, then we started to do some courses, quizzes, exams, but also how they perform in the actual labs. That data is fed into the skills profile as well. So it's not just your test skills, but actually practical skills that we also address. And then you can go down to individuals to see how everybody's progressing. And we have something called a nudge factor, which is great because it is online learning. It's self-paced. It's tough to keep on track sometimes. So we have a way to just nudge people, and you can have a canned note to let them know, hey, we got to get back on track. Let me know if you need any help, or you can just do something, a custom note. You can nudge everybody, but we find that the end user is really welcome because they're busy, and if they get reminded, the way our training is set up and designed, which I'll show, it's meant to be done in 15, 20 minutes at a time, not for like 2 straight hours. So that reminder could let them know, hey, 15 to 20 minutes before or after lunch, I can bust out some of this training. And of course, you're going to be busy as well as a team manager if you are one, or admin, and may not be able to always check on the progress, but we have a feature in here you can automate this. So if they fall, say, 70% behind, they'll automatically get a nudge notifying them to catch up. So now I'll go into the analytics, which is probably the coolest part about our platform is all the data you're going to be able to see and visualization into the training program. So initially, we do have the consumption metric. This is everything that they've done on the platform: courses, quizzes, exams, labs. And it is good to know at least they're utilizing it. They're getting in there, especially HR would be interested in that. But then we can see who's spending the most time on the platform. Maybe not who knows the most yet, but at least putting in the most effort. But also, importantly, you can see who's not spending much time at all on the platform. And they may, we have some customers like, hey, just use it or lose it. If we don't want to waste the license, someone's really not being active in there. And sometimes they use the word purge. They do every quarter to get certain people off and others on. But another good use case for this is the exam. So we know certifications are important to a lot of organizations, and this gives you a good insight into who's ready to go take that exam, instead of just hoping or guessing that, hey, I'm ready, right? This lets you know, and them know as an individual, if they're prepared and you're prepared to go invest in that voucher and go take the exam. So here we'll show you the my exam started, completed, and then their last score. So if they're maybe 70 or worse, you might say, hey, maybe you need to study a little bit more before you go take that exam. But now I'll take a skills profile, and this is probably the most unique thing about our platform here. It's not, we don't just show you people are doing training, we show you the actual skills they have and actual practical skills. Because when I mentioned the labs, it's actual access to the AWS, Azure, and GCP consoles, the real environment, fully provisioned by Cloud Academy. And how they perform in there also gets fed into this skills profile. So we know certification is important, but we take a lot of pride in Cloud Academy and building practitioners, as we say. So here, this just gives you a general snapshot overall of everything on the platform and all the cloud platforms, and then again, a longitudinal line, the ROI showing the knowledge and skill gained in AWS, Azure, GCP. In some cases, one of them might be really low because it's not a focus, or you might not even have a GCP platform. But now here you can see the practitioners, who are the higher performing people on your team. And again, not just if they're certified, but actually how they perform in the actual job itself in those labs. But more often than not, people are going to narrow this down. So we have systems integrators who they have to put some people on site, some of the biggest customers, and they want to know who's really ready to go, not just who's certified. So we can narrow it down to say AWS, and even get more granular, AWS, but in security. And then you can see, the top skills, where you rank in AWS security, and who your top performers are specifically in that domain within AWS. And these will also give you a good snapshot into who could be a leader, maybe the head of project, maybe be a mentor, help with onboarding and whatnot. So good visualization into the the skills of the individuals and actually the teams themselves. You can go to a team level and see which team is most highly proficient in AWS security, for example. All right, now what I'll do is I'll take you to the end user experience. So again, when we founded, we started out just by creating great content and having an amazing UI for the end users. And as we built out the enterprise features, we didn't forget about the end user, because if they're not happy, nobody is. So all the data and information and skills profile that you'll see on the team and the individuals, they can see for themselves.
Hey,
So
Stephen.
Yes.
Sorry for interrupting. We have somebody that asked whether you could repeat the last part about the labs, what you said. So if we could take one step back and if you could go over the labs again, please.
Sure, I'll definitely go take you right into them a little bit later. But is the question just about the type of labs that we have, Francesca, or
Yeah,
just?
whether they're an actual copy in a sandbox environment of the real AWS, Azure, and GCP platforms. They wanted to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I'll take you into that a little bit later too, but for now, I'll let you know it is the real consoles for AWS, Azure, and GCP, unlimited access. We also do have sandboxes as well. So you can go in there and play around. You can do most anything you want, except, and it is monitored, or there's time limits on it because it's Arbdine, right? But you can do almost anything you want except mine for Bitcoin, as we're told as far as the sandbox. But it is the real console, unlimited access for everybody as well. And we have something called lab challenges, which I'll get into. So there's labs that are step by step for your beginners, but then the lab challenges, what that is someone has to complete a lab or an instance from beginning to end without any help at all. And that's how you can really see who your practitioners are, and that would really affect that skills profile score as well. So I don't know if that helps,
Perfect.
Jessica.
They said that you answered perfectly. Thank you so much,
Perfect.
Stephen.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Well, yeah, and I'll show you how we get in there in a moment too. So, yeah, so on this dashboard, you can, of course, when you go to your individual dashboard, you'll see your training plans that have been assigned to you, completed, maybe ones you have to continue. You can see all the assessments that you've completed or maybe were assigned to you as well. And under activity, you can, of course, anything you're currently working on will populate to the top. But this is a kind of AI component, and we have a sort of a Netflix type of field because based on what you're working on, we'll throw in some other recommended topics for you to maybe explore. And yeah, a certain maybe training plan or a certification might be the top priority, but the students on here have access to everything. So if on their own time, they can really take the career and the knowledge in IT and emerging technologies into their own hand and study anything they want on the platform. But over here, we have, you can add a training reminder, just maybe there's a certain time each week you think you can consistently do the training, you can put that in your calendar. And you can train from anything, a tablet, a PC. Some people train on Fire TV, and we have this mobile app that you can download. And once things get back to normal and we start traveling again, sometimes that's the most downtime we have is if we're on a plane or just not on a network, commuting on a train. You can download the content before you get off the network, and so do training offline as well. But then when you come online, again, all that your progress skills profile gets immediately updated in real time, regardless of what device you're training on. And we also have a new feature where you can create your own training plan if you want to provide some more autonomy for the students. And then all that great data that we can see into people, they can see for themselves as well. Sorry, this is a little bit slow. Okay. So they can see their progress made over time. They can see how they fare in high level on all the major cloud platforms and some other domains that they're working in. There's an exhaustive list actually of different skills. If they're into software development, we have a lot of courses on that. That would be over here as well. And so you can just get a really good idea of maybe where your gaps are and where you might want to brush up on it and focus in on, or maybe just areas that you've never really actually tried to learn, but maybe you want to get that particular skill set as well. So a good snapshot. And then a leaderboard. Some companies love it, some hate it, depending on your culture, I guess, but it can be good to be competitive sometimes, see where you stack up. But now I'll take you into the training library and show you what it's like to actually do this training through Cloud Academy. And our library is customer facing. You'll be able to find all this right now. You don't need a license. I've been to some other learning platforms. It can be painful to find exactly what they have sometimes, but ours is pretty user friendly. You can see on the left the list of the cloud platforms that we cover. The big three, of course, and even Alibaba now, we have some certifications on them. They're like the Amazon of China in many ways. And then emerging technologies, a lot of these are vendor neutral surrounding the cloud in area of DevOps and programming, machine learning, and serverless. And And any custom plans that you might have in your organization would be down here as well. And I'll show you how we do that a little bit later. We also have a new section of our library, which is job roles. So we know career paths for many people obviously is pretty important. We feel like these are the top 5 job roles in the digital age right now. And a lot of these didn't even exist probably 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, some of these roles, right? So we're developing more, and we can also develop a custom job role for your organization if needed. But let me go into one of these paths and show you what it looks like and show you our approach. So here you can initially see, the difficulty level, where you're starting from average duration of the class, the description, of course. And we have what we call a learn, do, and validate model. So we don't expect somebody to sit there and watch 2-hour videos of training or traditional old eye-bleeding e-learning. It's very interactive with some courses, exercises, and then the labs are within the path. So you don't have to go to somewhere else, get another account. Definitely don't have to pay for it. It's included in the subscription. And it's right from within the path, and I'll show you in a minute how we do that. But I'll take you into one of these courses so you can see how we set it up.
Hello and welcome to this very short lecture.
And there's going to be a mixture of videos. You'll see the instructor, you'll see chalk talks and a lot of other graphics. You can speed it up or slow it down if you wanted to. You can even read it. There's a transcript of everything if you prefer to read instead of watching the videos. And then on the left, you'll see what I meant. It's we set it up where it's easy to consume. It's kind of like a micro-learning trend and learning. So it's the way people want to learn these days. It's a lot different. And the way technologies change constantly. We're updating our platform all the time. So not only do people not just want to sit in a class for a week for 8 hours a day, they want to learn on the go, in real time, on demand. And it's almost necessary because the technologies do change so much. So you'll see that these sometimes 30 minutes is the longest module we'll have. We can look at this and say, hey, I can bust out 3 or 4 of these modules in the next 20 minutes. And it's also very easily taggable. So we have customers where this becomes kind of a knowledge base for them, even if they're done doing their certification or training. This is great information at their fingertips on how to do their job. So I had a customer tell me, he's like, it might have taken me 7 hours to solve a particular problem or spin up this lab. If I didn't have access to Cloud Academy, easily find the answer, maybe practice the lab, and then go into your real environment and do it. So, but now let me take you into one of these labs, show how easy it is to get in there. And again, as I mentioned, this is the actual console for AWS, Azure, and GCP. We also have Playground Labs and Kubernetes and some other DevOps tools. But this is a guided lab, so you see the steps on this side. And as I mentioned before, we do have the challenges as well, where you have to perform it without any help. But let me just show you how to get in here. Discard an old one. And you'll see there's the clock starts ticking up here. It is timed because it is a real environment, but we usually give you way more time than you need to complete the lab. But that said, we are working on a feature based on a customer request where we can actually pause some of the labs. So we do understand sometimes you're just going to get taken away and maybe you're almost at the end, but you don't want to have to start over. We're working on that feature where you can actually pause it and resume. And I think it's like within 36 hours. But how we do this and how you provision our student account, and there's a unique ID each time. So you can just seamlessly get into the consoles. And step 1 is to open it up. And just like that, we're in AWS, spun up an instance. And so let me close out of that. So another feature that we had though, and unique to us, that based on customer request, was validation checkpoints. And let me go to the next step. So we found that people, maybe they're on step 7 through a lab and they find out they made a mistake in step 2, and then they got to start over. It could be frustrating. So we have validation checkpoints along the way. Let me show you a second here. So our platform communicates with these consoles in real time. And so we do a check right here. And I didn't even begin the step, so I'm sure I'm going to fail it. And that would affect that profile score, but if you did it correctly, it would increase it. But you don't get credit for actually completing a lab unless you do everything successfully. So now what I'll do is take you into one of our exams. Show you our 1 second here. So if it is for a certification training path, the final exam does mimic that of the actual vendor's exam. And it's exact time, same amount of questions. And we actually have hundreds of questions that circulate through there. So I know test prep back in the day might have been a book with a couple of tests, but is it really covering everything? We cover everything you could probably ever find and overly prepare you for these exams. So sometimes close to 1,000 questions with some of these exams. But let me take you into one that's kind of short because I just want to show you what it looks like at the end and how we help people prepare. So initially you'll see, how long the exam is, depending on how much time you have, which is good. And I'm just gonna try to bust through here as quick as I can, just to show you what it looks like at the end. And you are able to skip a question as well. And this is something we highly recommend because you don't want to get credit or think you know something when you actually don't because you answered it by guessing. So it doesn't, hurt your profile score. It just isn't going to help it. But skipping a question is something that we definitely recommend. And we also have something called that our data scientists have come up with. They develop these questions is the item response theory. So if you answer like 5 questions in a row correctly, the questions will get progressively harder. And same as if you answer like 3 or 4 or 5, incorrectly in a row, then they're going to get progressively easier. All right, so let me just submit this and show you what it looks like at the end. Of course, my score is not too good, obviously, because I failed, but I only spent a minute doing it as well. But this will show you how it affected your profile score, breaks it down into different services and domains, how you did there. You can even jump into some training to help you on that particular service if you want to just brush up on that right away. And then we can, down here, we'll show you the ones you got correct and even explanation if you got them correct, but more importantly, the ones you got wrong, explanation. And then we have a resource you can go to right away to brush up on that knowledge. And a lot of times it goes right to the actual maybe site of Azure or AWS as well. So just a great way to prepare for an exam. And I don't think I'm being as short as I thought I would, so I'm going to try to show one more thing to you, and then we'll go and I'll try to wrap this up. And it's the content engine. And that's because this is, again, something that's very unique to Cloud Academy. It's kind of a game changer for some of our customers because, again, it's, a lot of our training plan, it's great, but it might be 80% of what they want, and they want to put in something else, or maybe they want something from another course in that learning path. You're allowed to do all that right here. And you also have a customer success manager that'll help you do it as well. I'm showing you a lot of stuff, and you may not have a lot of time to do it, but we'll do it for you, or we can teach you, how to do it as well. But a lot of times people will upload PDF security document maybe before lab. You can even put in some custom questions and little exams so you know that they read that document. We can put any static file up there, MP3, videos, PowerPoints, even link to other training, other websites if you want. And then we can even customize the labs as well, which is really cool. So not only we learn in our actual console AWS, you can customize the labs to mirror a particular technology stack and do it the way you do it. So another unique thing and pretty powerful tool. I'll just show you really quickly. More often than not, when people customize, you can actually build from scratch. You'll have access to everything behind the scenes. But more often than not, they'll clone one of our paths and then like kind of cut and paste. And I'll just show you how that's done really quickly. Scratch, clone, select. And then because it is custom, you gotta just put in your company's name or whatever title that you want. It's a description that you want. And then in here, you can switch around the steps if you want to in the learning path. You can delete some stuff. If it's advanced people, get rid of the, IT from the beginning of time part. You can customize it for more advanced people. Then you can come down here and add resources from other parts of our website or custom resources yourself. And a lot more to it that we could get at another time. I just wanted to briefly show you that because it's definitely a game changer. One of those big 3 cloud platform providers, one of our biggest customers, because they put some technology, not Azure, but from another course or solution that they have, and they love the way the skills profile is and how you can track and customize the training, that they put that entire course on our website. Then they can see the skills profiles in their own custom technology. So really cool. But I think that's all I got for today. I really thank you for your time. And if there's some questions in the chat, Francesca, I can address those.
Yes, so there was a question that I already answered. So for now, we don't have any more questions, but if you have anything that you'd like to ask Stephen, please feel free to write to us right now. There's a chat box that you can use.
And don't forget to take that survey if you could too. We'd definitely appreciate that.
Yes, I don't see anything coming through right now, so I think you can conclude the webinar.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time. And, if you need anything, here's my email right here as well. Reach out to me if you want a longer demo. I can even get one of our SMEs in there to do a better demo even, right? And deeper dive. But really appreciate your time and hope everybody has a great rest of your day.